Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at this product from Pro-Logix, sometimes also known as Clore or Solar. This is an automatic battery charger with one very specific and highly desirable feature, which is why I'm making this video. So first things first, if you're looking at this package and you're thinking, I might have seen a charger like this before, if you see the Mac Tools catalog, indeed, you have seen this same charger from Mac Tools. If you buy it from Mac, you can get it in red, orange, or green. If you buy it direct from the actual manufacturer, instead of being rebranded by Mac, you get it in your choice of colors of gray and gray, as in they only sell it in one color. So let's see what you get in the box here. And so first thing we can tell from the outside of the box, this is good for AGM, gel cell, flooded acid, deep cycle batteries, spiral wound batteries, marine batteries. Essentially, it's good for all battery types that you're likely to encounter. Has a 20 amp fast charging mode, good for 6 and 12 volt batteries. So we got 20 amps, the fast charge, 10 and a 2 amp trickle charge mode, but there's still more to it. There's one specific feature. So this is about $90, give or take. So in other words, about half of the price of what the Mac man or Mac gal will sell you the red version of this charger. So we have a manual buried at the bottom. We'll set that aside. And this comes all nicely wrapped. So then on the back side here, we've got a grounded outlet plug. And then our red and black battery cables. And these have a place to clamp on the back to keep them organized. So if we look at the front here, this is where all the business is. And so a couple things. Number one, this is very straightforward. We got button 1, we select to choose what our battery voltage is. 6 or 12 volts. There's this blue box up here, I'll get to you in a second. Button number 2, select the battery type, standard, AGM, or gel. Number 3, select the rate. This is very easy, 1, 2, 3. 2, 10, or 20 amp fast charge. And then we get through that and select start. Then we can choose on the readout here if we want to see the charge or the voltage that's on the battery. And then we have an indicator here if charge is in progress or charging is complete. But the most important feature that this charger has is the blue box up here for power supply. And so that power supply mode will supply a constant power to your vehicle if you're needing to do any other programming of your computer, modules, or anything else with a scan tool for an extended period of time, where just a very quick run of the battery will not suffice. But especially if you're doing any programming on the car, you will want a constant battery supply, not going up and down and following some sort of charging curve, but you want a constant power supply. Now, Schumacher makes a power supply tool that sells for almost $900, so about 10 times what this actually sells for, or about 3.5 times what the Mac version sells for to get that feature. Now, while we're talking about this, let me talk about a couple other things. Number one feature this does not have, and that is the ability for engine starting or jump starting a car from dead that other chargers may have. So for example, here's another charger that I have in my garage. This is a Sears Die Hard charger, and this has the option where I can select the option here for engine start, where I hook this up to the battery, put it into the starting mode, and it will give me the ability to jump start the car with this plugged in. It takes a couple seconds for this to get fully charged and then go. So some instructions built in on the top on how to do that. Number 2, this one also gives me alternator percentage, which is not provided over here. So there's going to be some trade-offs for different types of chargers that you have, and you might want one or you might want the other. You might be able to replace some of the features on this with a dedicated lithium-ion jump starter and some other test for the alternator. Again, it's going to come down to whatever your preferences are for what you're looking for. But for what I need to do coming up here before too long is I want to be able to have a constant power supply, and this was the most reasonable way I was going to be able to get that function without having to spend an arm and a leg. So let's hook this up to my vehicle, and I'll show you this in action. All right, so we've got the charger here plugged into my 06 Saab 9.3. I don't have this plugged in to the outlet yet. So a couple little things here I want to point out. Number one that I really like, on the bottom of this charger, it has these nice little feet that provide a nice little set off here as I set this on the front of the car here. Number two, it's got a nice plastic exterior. It's very lightweight, easy to handle with a hand or two. It's not going to damage or ding the front of the car. And depending upon the car that you've got, maybe you want to put down a fender, something on it if you're going to set it on the car here, or set this on a tool cart beside the car. And then I've got the clamps hooked onto the battery on the right side over here. On this vehicle here, there's a little cover I had to remove to get the clamps on. One thing I will say about this charger is, to me, it feels like these clamps are a little bit undersized, and I wish they had just a little bit larger capacity. Now, obviously, one easy way to remedy that is to cut this off and to clamp on, or to recrimp larger battery clamps on. That's something I may do down the road. Obviously, that would likely void my warranty, but to me, I feel like just slightly larger clamps would make this just a little bit nicer of a charger. And so now let's plug this in and see what happens. So the first thing you heard there was an internal fan kick on, and now it's trying to run a little bit of an analysis on the battery. And so what this is showing me here, before I even touch it, because I plugged it in and off camera, hopefully you can see the LED display coming through on the screen here. Let me tilt the camera down there just a bit. And so what we're seeing here is it's automatically figured out that this is a 12-volt battery. Good job. It also figured out the chemistry as being an AGM battery. Also correct. This is an AGM. What's in there right now is a Duralast Platinum battery, if you're curious. And then this is going to show me that by default, it's going to suggest to set it to 2 amps. And then it's showing it's between 68 and 69% charged. If I toggle the button here, it shows me that the current voltage is 12.5. I could get that with a multimeter as well. Then now if I wanted to do a basic charge on it, I could hit start. And then it illuminated the charge in progress light. So it is now initiating a battery charge on it. And so I've driven this car around a little bit earlier today. I had a few starts and stops, running a number of errands. And every time you start the engine, it runs down the battery a little bit. I didn't have any solid length of highway driving where the alternator would have kicked it all the way up. And so now if I want to be able to switch this to do any programming on it, where I need to connect to the OBD2 port for an extended period of time, what I'm going to do is not actually charge it, which is what it's doing now. So I'm going to tell it to stop charging. Very simple there. And then over here on button 1, you can see if I toggle this here, it shows 12.5. And just as a quick thing here, OUP, that is the incorrect battery voltage. And now it says PS for power supply. And so now I can have this set to power supply mode. And then I'll go ahead and click start. And so then in power supply mode, it's not really going to be charging the battery, which could affect the voltage curve, because whether it's on a gel or an AGM or our standard flooded battery, it may, again, may being the operative word, have different charging curves that affects the output voltage getting to the computer, and you want a nice steady flow of current. And to that end, this should be plugged in to the wall outlet and not into a gasoline powered generator. Those are notorious for having wicked curves on them that may deviate from what you're trying to do and could undermine this. So make sure you plug in the wall and try to get as clean of electricity going into this as possible. And so now that's your look at this Pro-Logix charger, also a Mac product as well. If you're interested in this, I'll put a link to it down below. It runs about $90, give or take, on Amazon, which I think is a relatively good deal, and it weighs very little. So that's a quick look at this. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button for more great content. Check back here often. I've been posting more stories lately, or the little pictures. with some various tool deals around. And have a great day. Bye.